All right. Welcome. This is Dr. Evan Osar with the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education. Thank you so much for joining me on this webinar. I'm here with my good friend and industry colleague, Dr. Dan Ritchie of the Functional Aging Summit. So for those of you that don't know Dan and Cody started the Functional Aging Summit. I'll have him talk about that briefly here in a moment and get into the 5 next big things. We're going to give you 3 things, but he's going to give you 5 things instead. So the 5 next big things coming in the fitness industry and how you can position yourself for success in 2020 and beyond. Because as Dan will discuss, there's never been more competition than there is right now. However, with that competition, there's also an incredible opportunity for those of you that really get the right education and position yourselves appropriately for what's coming. So thank you so much for being on, Dan. I appreciate everything you do for the industry and for being on and sharing with our community here at the Institute for Integrative Health and Fitness Education.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love doing this. Usually we have you on, so
I know.
It's my turn. I'm going to try to do my best Evan Osar impression and go as fast as I possibly can. So I realized I added 2 more to the 3 things I promised. So I'm going to go through some things fairly quickly. 2 or 3 of them kind of overlap.
Cool.
So here we go. And Evan, if people ask questions, feel free to stop me as we go. So some of this we took. Yeah.
Sorry to cut you off there. Could you actually just introduce yourself? Because I'm sure everybody knows you, but just in case if there's a few listeners that don't know you and what the Functional Aging Summit, or should say Functional Aging Institute, is all about.
Yeah, sure. So we founded the Functional Aging Institute in 2013. We is Cody and myself, Cody Sipe, and me met at Purdue University in 2002. We both got our PhDs there in kinesiology and really have been studying the aging population for almost 20 years now. And so the Functional Aging Institute came out of all of our research, our work, and even opening our own studio. And we said, hey, we've got to begin to prepare the fitness industry for this massive population that's coming, like nothing we've ever seen. In fact, I was just telling somebody today, like we've never seen 100 million people living over the age of 70, and we're on the cusp of that.
Wow.
So it's absolutely going to be a huge opportunity. So we took some of actually the fitness industry's reports. Club Industry came out with some stuff saying, hey, fast forward 5 years and what's the fitness and wellness industry going to look like, and how does it need to change? How will it change? How many things are going to disrupt it? And then we tried to overlay some of our thoughts with, oh, wait a minute, the fitness industry still isn't thinking about how old our population is getting and how fast we're aging. And so let's look at both through this lens. So the first thing that I've got of my 5 is that brain fitness is going to come of age. And so we're going to actually start to see people shifting from not just our normal physical training to actually some cognitive components, right? Some people are going to start calling the brain a muscle, which of course it's not, but right, we're going to start training the brain to be more robust. The concept of physiologic reserve, we know applies to the brain as well as it does to the rest of the body, right? And so brain fitness is going to explode. When we look around the globe and we start to see people living longer and longer, guess what? We start to see issues like Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson's, other forms of cognitive decline. And that is going to really heighten the awareness and the need, right? And people aren't necessarily going to know where to turn besides their physician. Who else can I get help from, right? And so we're going to be a huge piece of this. So it's going to be a pretty exciting opportunity. But in some ways, it's sort of a scary opportunity when we look at 135 million people with dementia by the year 2050, right? I mean, that's just 30 years down the road, right? It's a huge number.
Yep.
You think of the cost of caregiving and healthcare and just the number of things. And so it's going to be a massive opportunity. And we really can make a big dent into that. So it's something I think we're going to start to see more fitness professionals, allied health, chiropractors, physical therapists, all sorts of ranges of people going into, hey, I need to learn how to help my clients, my patients with their cognitive piece as well, right? How do I incorporate that? So in the United States, we see the dementia rate, the deaths per 100,000. We're 3rd in the world, and a lot of that's due to just our massive population that people are living longer. Sure. And we're going to see these rates continue to climb in the developed world as people live into their 80s and 90s. And so it's going to be an ongoing problem. And so for us, it's like, hey, how do we prevent, but also how do we optimize, right? If somebody's got mild cognitive impairment in their 80s, how do we help them not decline to the point of dementia, right? I love the image of Nelson Mandela. I mean, he became president at 75, right? Well, if he'd had mild cognitive impairment or even dementia, obviously he's not becoming president of South Africa, right? So lived to the age of 95 years old. So the growing market for brain training, we're already seeing is exploding. I mean, you look back at the numbers in 2013, the hundreds of millions being spent on all sorts of different brain stimulus activities. I think we're going to see these numbers skyrocket here in the next 10 years, right? As we think about baby boomers, 10,000 a day turning 65, 10,000 a day turning 70, they're going to be looking for these things, right? I mean, at 72 years old, the last thing I want to do is for my brain to lose its sharpness and its ability, right? So we're going to see this explode. So the problem is it's not just about brain games, right? I mean, it's not just do your Sudoku and your crossword puzzles and these sorts of things. We know it's a lot more than that. In fact, we know physical movement is going to be the key to it. And so how do we overlay cognitive training with exercise training, right? And that's really going to be a key piece as we move forward. And I think the fitness industry is going to be a huge help. When we looked at the research, we found aerobic exercise impacts executive function and memory. We find resistance training, strength training. I mean, lifting weights, for crying out loud, actually helps your brain, right?
Helps your brain, right?
Helps your brain. So you need to be doing these physical activities. We know that. And then when you combine that with movements like Tai Chi and sports and dance and coordinated motor fitness, we see an even more positive synergistic effect. And so we're excited about the Brain Health Trainer, which we've released this year, that we think is going to help the fitness world just address these things even more. Like, how do I integrate brain health with fitness, right? So
could you talk about that just briefly, like the Brain Health Trainer system that you guys created? Because I know Ryan Glatt created that for you.
Yeah, I'm going to show a slide on that here in just a second. So
awesome.
And we think Tai Chi is integral in that as well, right? We've seen tremendous benefits with Tai Chi in terms of the mind-body connection. You know, just the movement patterns alone of Tai Chi, right? Learning a martial art in your 70s, right? That alone has a tremendous brain enhancement. So, but the Brain Health Trainer is really the thing we're most excited about, because we want to help people with the brain fitness and effective programming, right? So I've got a piece here. Here it is. So when we're looking at the Brain Health Trainer program, we start to think about, so what types of exercise target certain regions of the brain, right? You know, so obviously if I'm playing a sport activity like baseball or softball or golf, that's a different portion of my brain than if I'm doing strength training, or if I'm doing dancing or some sort of dance movement, or if I'm just doing steady state aerobic type exercise. I know I'm impacting a certain region of my brain, but then how can I enhance that? And so the Brain Health Trainer just helps people realize, hey, if someone is having issues in these certain tasks, right? Maybe I need to do more of these functional movement patterns, or maybe I need to do more timing games, or maybe I need to do more start and stop activities, right? And so we just want to help people. We're certainly not going to make you a neurology expert or anything like that. We just want to help give people tools that they can integrate into their functional training workouts with their clients, right? So that can really help. And of course, if we can give people a handful of activities to take home, right? Like, you know, practice these 2 or 3 physical activities, it can really make a big difference. So it's a cool course. It's about an 8-hour course where people are going to get a lot of really hands-on useful stuff. Ryan dives in fairly deep into the neuroscience, but not too deep that the average trainer can't jump in and really learn and apply it. And so we're trying to get beyond the just, hey, do the crossword puzzle while walking on your treadmill. Right? We're trying to get to where the brain actually is going to be challenged to improve, and we're going to do that through exercise and different cognitive tasks. So
awesome. Can I back up? Sorry. You know, I sort of went out of order for you. Could you also talk about Tai Chi? Because I know I've done, we did a program with Diane Bailey earlier this year, back in September. And I know you're big on the Open the Door to Tai Chi program from Diane as well. And you know, obviously she's an industry expert on Tai Chi, and there's tons and tons of research around Tai Chi and the benefits for brain health as well.
Tons. I mean, the overwhelming benefits for Tai Chi are obviously far beyond brain health. But we know when we learn a new movement skill, that's one of the key things with the cognitive and the brain health trainer is we need to be teaching people new skills, right? So if it's bouncing a ball with your left hand, right? If it's taking a stepping pattern the opposite you normally would, right? Learning a dance step in reverse, right?
Right.
If it's learning movements that you're like, I'm not used to doing this, your brain has to adapt to that. And so Tai Chi, of course, for most of us, especially for me, right? It's going to be
too.
a movement pattern that we're not used to, right?
Correct.
It's going to be so many forms of movement that we're not used to. And then, of course, you add on the balance improvements, the fall risk reduction research we've seen in Tai Chi, the blood pressure reduction, the stress reduction, the cardiovascular disease risk reduction. I mean, it's far beyond just brain health, right? And sometimes people look at it and they're like, it doesn't really even look like they're doing that much, right? It doesn't look that overly intense, right?
Correct.
But it's movement quality.
Exactly.
Right? It's movement quality. And so our brain has to learn new movement patterns, but also because it's not overly intense. It's a very relaxation type form of exercise. We see stress reduction. We see blood pressure reduced.
Exactly.
So there's just so many positive benefits to Tai Chi. On top of that, it's a great activity to do in a group. And most people really enjoy it, right? I mean, it's not an exercise form where you're going to come out of it going, man, that workout killed me. It really beat me up, right? So you can do it day and day after and not feel totally exhausted, which is a great thing about it as well. So we love Tai Chi. We love Tai Chi.
Awesome. And to me, like just those two things, like brain training and Tai Chi, just those two things alone are differentiators in the industry, right? When you think about like what the average personal trainer is able to offer their clients, all of a sudden now you've opened up a whole entire brand new door because you've got Tai Chi, which doctors and physical therapists and chiropractors are all recommending. The research is supporting it, as well as brain health, which is brand new. And as you said, the numbers are just increasing of people that are having cognitive decline, as well as the amount of money being spent on because of the importance of brain training. So just those two things are huge for those looking to differentiate themselves and provide an additional service to what they're already doing from a fitness level.
And I think the challenge around Tai Chi for so many years has been the inability to find an instructor, to train someone to teach it. How do I offer it? Well, Diane has really, like her company says, she's opened the door to Tai Chi. She's made it available so people can learn it, master it, and begin to offer it. And we're seeing clubs now offer Tai Chi, and now all of a sudden they have 25, 30, 40 Tai Chi clients. Because people are looking for that sort of thing. And a lot of clients in their 70s and 80s are like, I just need something that's a little gentler, a little kinder, isn't going to beat my hips and knees up, and so Tai Chi might even be their entry point to your facility, right? And then they might try some of your strength training, so.
It's a great way to feed people into your system. Awesome.
Yeah. So 4 and 3 are basically a blend of, hey, our country's getting older. The rise of the fit senior, and then I'm going to talk about boomers and Gen Xers and how old we're getting. And it's a huge opportunity, right? Mark Middleton says it best, right? Aging's not a disease that needs to be cured. It's an opportunity that needs to be seized, right? And when we realize, oh my goodness, we have 75 million baby boomers, 55 to 73, and they're not going anywhere. And then above age 73, we have about another 30 million people. You realize right now, today in the United States, there are over 100 million people over the age of 55. So 1 out of 3 people in the U.S. are over 55. And the vast majority of the fitness world is underserving them, under targeting them, under marketing to them, right? There's a huge opportunity. And guess what? It's only going to get bigger, right? Because the Gen Xers are coming behind. Whether we like it or not, we're going to get old too, right? So it's inevitable. So the National Senior Games out in Albuquerque last year absolutely were just unbelievable, right? I mean, 14,000 athletes came out to compete.
Your father being one of them.
Yeah, my dad at 71 competed in the 70 to 74-year-old category for men. In fact, I think the 70 to 79 was the most populated category of age ranges, but they had people in the 100 to 105, right? I mean, every sport imaginable. In fact, it impacted, you guys got out of town quick enough, you didn't see this, but it impacted every aspect of Albuquerque for about 5 or 6 days. In fact, every restaurant I went to, there were athletes running around the hotel lobby, the elevator, everywhere you went. We go to the Sky Tram. I'm like, man, why is this so crowded? We're looking around. Oh, well, it's all the athletes who lost today, right? Literally the guy in front of me who was 69. He's like, yeah, we got knocked out of the badminton tournament today, so we're here doing the Sky Tram. So they were everywhere. So,
that's awesome.
Absolutely awesome event. And it just shows that people can keep competing at any age. Like my dad, I don't think he's run track since high school.
Wow.
You know, and he's like, he decided to enter the Illinois Senior Games. He qualified, and so he ran the 50 and the 100. And he got 20th out of 40.
Wow, that's awesome.
He was pretty blown away by the competition. So
wow, and it's great because Mark Middleton was showing some videos of the competition, and it's just like it's incredible. Like so like a 100-year-old woman comes out and she breaks a record, and then another 100-year-old sees her, and at 101 she broke the record. So it's really incredible. Yeah. Just the stories of these individuals coming out and being competitive and just their spirit just waking up by seeing other people doing the same thing that they thought at one point they couldn't do.
Yeah, yeah, and I think for a lot of these people, it's just sheerly the fun of competing and hanging out, right?
Yep.
Like I don't think until I put it in front of my dad, I don't think he'd really thought about it, right? Like his go-to sport is softball, and I was like, hey, why don't you just go try the Illinois Senior Games, see what happens, right? So he does the 50, the 100, the 200, the long jump, the high jump, and he qualifies in all 5 of them for the national games, right?
Great.
Well, you start to run into people and you realize they're just here to have a good time. It gives them something to do. All of a sudden, my dad, he's like, hey, I'm going to Kentucky for the Kentucky Senior Games. I'm like, what? When is that? And he goes down there and he decides he's going to try discus and shot put and javelin. And I'm like, okay, great. So he has a whole fun day and hangs out with several hundred athletes. They'll have a good time, So it's just the pure love of competition.
Absolutely.
And keep moving and keep doing stuff, right? So
exactly.
So we see in these senior games athletes, they're more active, right? This is that fit senior. We're seeing people that are more active. They're going to be looking for more training options. They're going to be looking for ways to stay healthy, fit, continue to train. And that's an exciting trend that we're seeing. So the interesting thing is a lot of them are new or returning, right? So lifelong athletes are about 60% of them. Started competing as an adult or started competing after the age of 50 is about 40% of them, right? So people are jumping into sport later in life, which is really cool.
That's awesome.
We see cardiovascular disease is significantly lower. Surprise, people that are active and regularly exercising, their cardiovascular disease is significantly lower than their community dwelling peers. We see type 2 diabetes is lower. I mean, obviously there's just so many potentials because now if you have a sport you're engaged in and you're training for that consistently, right, you're going to be at a higher fitness level, lower diabetes, lower cardiovascular disease. This is one that might interest you as we look at specific sports, right? And I think I have a slide in here on shoulders, right? When we look at single leg balance of swimmers versus archers, well, no surprise there, the archers have slightly better balance on an unstable surface, right? And so we see there's a specificity of training effect, right? So if you spend all your time in the pool, right, your balance might not actually be that good, right? So you got to do some stuff on your feet. When we look at shoulder flexion, right, look at the swimmer. Oh my goodness, way more range of motion than the non-swimmer.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Much better. So, so again, obviously, how your training impacts your ability as well. So, we see that across the lifespan, right?
What's cool about that too is, like a lot of fitness professionals may be thinking like, oh, but if they're swimming or they're playing sports, then they don't need me. But it's like, no, they need you to stay active and continue to participate in their sport. So that way they can continue to get all those health benefits that come out of those sports. So
absolutely.
So we're helping set up, you're helping set up those clients for success in their sport. And that way you can get more individuals that, because again, they're hanging around other athletes that are also doing the same similar type of sports or being competitive.
Yeah. I mean, look at this list of sports here, right? I mean, there's a whole number of them. Pickleball, for example, tennis, even table tennis, right?
Right.
Lateral agility, quickness, speed, right? The ability to actually be competitive in these games. Badminton, I was blown away when the guy, he was like, I could not believe how competitive and how fast these guys are moving and how hard they're hitting it.
Yeah.
They want to be competitive and they want to play well in these sports.
Exactly.
Even if they're just doing it recreationally at home most of the year, right? I mean, we
Exactly.
get clients coming into our facility saying, we've got to get quicker to really enjoy pickleball, right? And a lot of times they're bringing in their partner or their spouse. They're like, hey, I'm moving well, but she's not, or he's too slow, or, so
Right.
they want to be able to do these things and do them well, right? So,
Exactly.
so yeah, there's all kinds of activities that we participate in. Aging evolution. I love the concept. It's never too late to be great, right?
Awesome.
I mean, 62 years old, still taking the stage, right?
That's
So
amazing.
I don't know if you have any interest in competing in bodybuilding and fitness competitions, but there's no reason why you have to stop just because you're in your 60s, 70s, or even 80s, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
it's never too late to be great, right?
Yep.
So what does this mean kind of for the fitness professional? Well, I say you got to really pay attention to how big the market is, right? Is this a market you want to pursue? Do your local research on kind of the networks in your area. Does it make sense to start marketing to all these what I call active agers, your fit seniors, these people engaged in sports and all sorts of activities? It's probably a much bigger opportunity than you're even giving it credit. And then when we, of course, throw in all the sedentary, non-fit seniors, right?
Exactly.
It's a huge, huge, huge market. Create a business plan that includes marketing and training strategies, right? What's going to compel them to train with you? I think some of the best partnerships are tennis clubs and golf clubs, right? You're not a competitor to them. You're an ally, right? Tennis clubs want their tennis players to continue playing in their 70s, 80s, and 90s, right? That's ongoing revenue for them. Golf clubs are hurting because guess what? Gen Xers and millennials are not taking to the golf course like boomers did, right? And so if you can extend the lifespan of a boomer 10 years on the golf course, oh my goodness,
that's huge.
The country club loves you, right? So those are great partnerships, tennis clubs, golf clubs. So number 3 is really looking at not the fit senior, just the population as a whole, right? So leading edge boomers in 6 years are going to start turning 80.
Crazy.
And Gen Xers, believe it or not, in about 5 years are going to start turning 60. It's absolutely crazy, right? And Gen Xers are going to be in their 60s and they're going to be whining about
my
seniors.
generation.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, oh my goodness, Gen Xers are getting there too. So we start to realize boomers have basically sort of changed our country as they've moved through it, right?
Absolutely.
We've never had a generation this big, right? They're by far bigger than their parents' generation, by far bigger than their grandparents' generation. They continue to shift our country as they age, and we're going to see this again as they get into their 80s, right? I mean, we're going to see an expansion in even the ADA. We're going to see an expansion in how doors open. We're going to see an expansion in ramps at places, and right, all of a sudden when we have 75 million people hitting the cusp of 80, right? It's going to change what our country thinks about, right? And all of a sudden we're like, wow, we have this demographic that's 65 to 80 years old and there's 75 million of them, right? Before, the over 65 demographic was just sort of not even thought about, right? It was like, oh, well, they're on Medicare and Social Security, fixed income seniors. We had these sort of negative stereotypes. Now we're going to be like, wait a minute. All wealthy people are 65 to 80 years old, right?
Exactly.
And guess what? They want quality service, right? They're going to want quality programs. They're going to want people that understand them and can really cater to them. And then we realize the generation behind them is going to be entering their 60s, and what are they going to need, right? We're going to see this whole wave of Gen Xers start to hit joint replacement age and chronic conditions and all these sorts of things. So the aging market is just poised to explode. I mean, it's only going to get bigger. So
and what's crazy about that too, as you're talking about the Gen Xers, is we're seeing, and I'm sure you're seeing a shift in your gym a little bit too, is a lot of those individuals, they're getting osteoarthritis and some of these diseases earlier in their life than their parents did. So like you said, this is a huge opportunity for us as health and fitness professionals to really address those issues at a younger age, because those individuals are going to live longer than the 60, 70, and 80-year-olds are living right now.
Yeah, for sure. So what do we know about 80-year-olds? Well, they're far more likely to be frail or have frail type issues. They're far more likely to have some functional deficits in their movement, right? They're more likely to have some chronic condition. Almost all 80-year-olds have arthritis somewhere, right? Real high percentage have high blood pressure or some sort of cardiovascular disease issue, most of which aren't significant or major. In fact, we help them, right? But they are more likely to have some chronic conditions. definite increased chance of multiple medications, which is a real concern for fall risk and balance issues and dizziness. So higher risk of falling for sure as we get into our 80s. And fit might have some potential deficits. This is where we say you can be really fit in your 80s, but you're never going to have normal hip function, right? You might be really fit, but you're not going to have full, like I can't raise my arm over my head because I had my shoulder replaced, so fit may come in different varieties, So here's Ernestine Shepard, who's, I believe, still the oldest female to take competitive stage in bodybuilding at 81. Wow. Definitely not frail, right? So certainly not in that frail category. But she's kind of the exception. So a common concern is going to be falling, right? As we look at the population as they get older, in 2014, those over the age of 70, about 1 in 4 are reporting a fall. 29 million older adults falling. Basically, every second, every day, an older adult is falling, right? But sadly, they're not all reporting it, right? They're not telling their doctor, I just fell at home, or I fell with my dog, or whatever, right? Only about 24% require any sort of medical treatment. That's significant, right? Beyond just like I had a bump or a bruise, right? Sure. But then when we think about the fact that 400,000 people a year are falling and breaking a hip, and guess what? That population over 70 is poised to double in the next 15 years. We go, whoa, now we're looking at 1 million hip fractures a year. Absolutely. Like it's pretty significant. I mean, so there's going to be a huge opportunity for us. Huge opportunity. I mean, look at these numbers, right? In 2014, we're looking at 7 million injuries, right? 2030, I mean, shoot, we're just barely 10 years away, right? 12 million injuries, right? It's staggering. And when we think about hip fracture right now is about 400,000 a year. The really sad thing is 200,000, half of those people never fully recover. And 100,000 of them are dead within a year. And I'm telling you, in about 10, 12 years, those numbers are going to double, right? It's crazy. It's going to be significant.
Because that happened to my mother. She fell, broke her hip, and she never walked again. And she survived, but again, her health just plummeted after that. So like you said, a lot of them will die within a year of that hip fracture.
Yeah, 1 out of 4 die within a year. It's what we call the death spiral. It's kind of morbid, right? So you have a significant injury like a hip fracture, and you simply can't recover from it. And so what we see is Thanksgiving is a great example of this, right? You go from cooking Thanksgiving for your family, right? You're kind of on that lower end dependent. You're just functional enough you can cook Thanksgiving and host your family, and a year later you're either disabled or you're dead and gone, right? I'm like you have a fall on the ice or snow, you break your hip, and it's like, man, last year grandma was doing pretty good, and now she's gone, right? So it's a pretty significant thing. And a lot of these injuries, if we're training people for balance, strength, agility, we could reduce significantly. So it's a huge opportunity. Absolutely. Huge opportunity. Absolutely. I'm going to skip through some of this fall stuff because I could probably spend hours talking about falls. For sure. But when we look at fall prevention, especially when we're thinking about clients over the age of 70, we just need to be screening. We need to have lots of information about their falls, their fall risk, issues they're having. We got to obviously be testing their gait and their balance. If we need to refer them to physical therapy if that's warranted. But for sure, we got to get people into exercise programs, right? Sadly, as people get into their 70s and 80s, they're getting less and less active. They're moving less and less, which makes them at much greater fall risk, right? And then it's usually simple things, right? It's like, oh, I tripped over the step coming from the garage, or I fell in the bathroom, or I bent over to pick something up, and it's not these crazy, it's not like they're going out for adventures in the snow and ice, right? It's simple things, right?
Activities of everyday life.
Everyday life, people fall, and then it becomes a major issue. So some simple tests that we do: 30-second chair stand, the 8-foot up and go, the 4-stage balance test. You can learn I can teach you the 8-foot up and go in 15 minutes. It's really not a difficult test. Some of these tests are really easy to administer. We can start running group programs based off of them, and really have a good idea. And I think just people having an awareness that, oh, you're kind of borderline to medium fall risk, we need to do something, can really make a big difference. People start to get more aggressive with their own health. So
absolutely.
So again, what does this mean for you now? Again, you got to decide, is this a population you want to train? Are you ready to train people in their 70s and 80s? Are you prepared for that? There's a huge number of them out there. We're probably looking at smaller groups, right? 4 to 6 per group. I certainly don't want to train 6 people that are a fall risk, probably all at the same time. Well, Dr. Dan told me to train people that are likely to fall, and 3 of them fell in my session. So you got to be smart. I signed up a client this morning. There's no way I'm training her in a group, right? She's way too high a fall risk. She's doing one-on-one training. And I said, we're probably going to have to train you one-on-one for 6 months, and then we'll reevaluate and see if you're ready to do a group, right? So, and she's only 65.
Yeah.
So I say only because I even said to her, I'm like, look, 65 is kind of young, but you're moving like you're kind of old, and she knew that too, right? I'm like, what are your 70s and 80s going to look like if we don't do something and do it fast, right? So,
absolutely.
So obviously you got to learn how to train them safely and effectively. You have to be comfortable with chronic disease management, right? Because people are going to come in with high blood pressure, and they might come in with 2 or 3 cardiovascular disease risk issues. Maybe they've had a triple bypass. You got to be comfortable with some of these chronic diseases, because you're definitely going to see more of them with clients in their 70s and 80s. But the beautiful thing I say is, we're the best medicine for them, right? It's like, we're literally the best medicine for them. And so we don't need to fear working with people that have chronic diseases. In fact, just embrace it and be like, hey, I'm going to help these people way more than them going to their physician and getting 2 or 3 more prescriptions, right? So become the best prescription they've ever had. And of course, we want to get them hooked on us, right? We want to be the best drug they've ever had, right? So they become hooked. So
we actually created sweatshirts where we put the logo, or the saying, I should say, the solution to the healthcare crisis, because physically we are the solution to the healthcare crisis when we think about all these things that lead to medical costs and the decreased quality of life and even death is their lifestyle issues that the health and fitness professionals and educated.
If we look at some of the most significant chronic disease issues, we're looking at high blood pressure, hypertension, some cardiovascular disease risk factors, diabetes, arthritis and joint issues are the other one, right? We can help all of those, right? We impact every single one of those. So,
and like you said, better than anybody else. Better than any other profession as a whole.
Yeah. If we could just get people to swallow their pill of exercise every day, right?
Exactly.
So Gen Xers, just let me jump back. So Gen Xers are getting older too, right? The oldest Gen Xers are turning 55 this year. In 5 years, they're going to be hitting their 60s, right? It's a whole nother wave of people that are going to be getting older. And what we've seen is most generations, they grow old very similar to the generation before them. They get to a certain age, and things like high blood pressure and arthritis and all these things start to creep up. So just a couple interesting things to note. Gen Xers, the percentage that were married at the age 18 to 32 dropped significantly from boomers. And if you look at millennials, dropped again. Millennials are getting married much later in life. Percentage of white Gen X is much lower than boomers. So our country's getting more diverse in this generation, which is just something to be mindful of, because boomers and seniors still in the U.S., predominantly a white demographic, getting much more diverse as we get into Gen X and millennials. When it comes to technology use and adoption, Gen Xers really find themselves kind of in the middle, right? This is the generation that didn't grow up with cell phones, didn't really even grow up with the internet, right? The internet sort of exploded on the scene in high school, right? So when you look at the percentage saying they've shared a selfie on social media, 55% of millennials, it's probably higher than that, right? Gen Xers, it's only a quarter, right? Boomers, it's only 9%, right? Median number of Facebook friends, millennials are the highest. Look at boomers, they're only at 98, right? So much lower. So we see Gen Xers really kind of bridge the gap between the millennial and boomer generation. They're certainly going to be very tech savvy. As we think about them aging into their 60s and 70s, well, they're going to be using any technology means that there happens to be, right? Some boomers still haven't quite embraced social media or Facebook, might not have quite totally embraced smartphones. for the most part, boomers are certainly online. They're certainly on email.
Correct.
They're certainly tech savvy, but maybe not quite as much. Gen Xers for sure are going to be using all of that stuff.
Absolutely.
So I like to tease millennials since I'm a Gen Xer, but right? Ignore the hype about the millennials. The vast majority of the fitness industry is solely focused on the millennial generation, right?
Correct.
They're going after the 25 to 40-year-old,
Correct.
maybe the tail end Gen Xers,
Yep.
but they're still focused on youth, right?
Yep.
And so we have to think about, how are the Xers going to come of age, right? Those people in their 40s and early 50s. Well, they're going to age a lot like boomers. They're going to get to a certain age and they're going to go, you know what, man, I just can't work out that hard anymore, right? I can't go to the gym and beat myself up. I need to go to the gym and make myself feel better, you know?
Right.
So they're going to mature with age. They're going to get to a certain stage and say, you know what, I got to do something a little smarter, right? I got to do something, maybe even something a little more efficient, right? I might even get to the point where I start to see this in Gen Xers. Are like, man, you can give me a really good workout in 30 minutes. I'm sold, right? Like I don't need to do this 60-minute, 90-minute thing anymore, right?
Exactly.
So the 65 plus population is going to continue to dominate the opportunity. But I think by far the fitness industry is still going to go after the 20 and 30-year-old market. So there's a huge opportunity for us to dominate if we step into the 65 plus market and do it really, really well. All right. I think I'm doing good on time here.
Yeah,
I got two more things I'll zip through. Group training is not dead. Don't see what you see on Facebook. Don't believe it. People talking about group trainings dying and everything's going online and personal training studios are going by the wayside. It's absolute nonsense. It's actually poised to double in the next 10 years. So you really should be looking at 2 or 3 different models, right? Tai Chi is a large group training model, right? You can generate a ton of revenue in a large group. Personal training in small groups, 3 to 6 clients, as many as 8 clients. Boot camp type training. I don't like the word boot camp, right? But large group fitness programs for older adults, and really even people of all ages. I mean, we're seeing places like Orange Theory explode, Fit Body Boot Camp explode. Anytime Fitness has like 2,000 locations in North America. Guess what they're doing? They're putting in group training studios in almost every Anytime Fitness club, right? They're switching from the simple fitness club model to simple fitness club with a group training studio, right? Because they realize there's a huge amount of training revenue to be had, and people want training programs. So group training is not dead. Greater specialization is what's needed, right? And it's going to continue to thrive. We're going to see it just take off. I mean, I have a training studio with 250 clients. An Orange Theory club opened up maybe 3 minutes from me. I don't think I lost a single client, and I know they have close to 200 clients, right? But it's a totally different specialization than what I do. I don't even run a group fitness session even similar to theirs, right? Their sessions are hours, mine are half hours. Mine are functional strength based. Theirs are much more cardio based, right? They do running on the treadmill and rowing, and you know, people are like, "Oh, what do you think about Orange Theory coming in?" I don't really think much about it. Great, you know, good for them. What do I care? You know, so they're going to train a segment of the population that I don't want to train, right?
Exactly.
So more specialization. So I say for sure, online fitness is here, right? And it's here to stay, but it's not the solution for everyone. And lots of people like to train with a trainer, with their friends, with their peers, with other people, right? So don't buy into the, I got to take my whole business online, because it's not easy. It's really hard to do. And guess what? It's really easy for clients to quit. There's no accountability. Like they're just like, nope, I'm out, right?
Yeah, right.
So here's an example of an online trainer I really like, Kelsey Heenan. She runs a program called Hit Burn. On her website's hitburn.com, and she's built a huge following online. But she's spent about 10 years building this thing, right? And so it takes a lot of consistent effort. And she's primarily going after, again, that youth market. Right. I mean, you could tell even from these images here, right? She's about people that want to get lean fast, right? So it can absolutely be done. But I think one of the things we're going to see more and more of is that training studios have to offer both, right? I have to offer online support, online accountability. This is what we call hybrid model. I've got to give you more than just 3 great workouts a week, right? I've got to support you through nutrition, accountability, maybe a daily encouragement text, you know, email support. There's private Facebook groups that I can put you in, right? Just more than just, hey, I'll see you at the gym on Wednesday, Evan, right? It's got to be a consistent, Evan's part of my online family, right? So, and that's the way, of course, you can increase revenues, right?
Sure.
You can charge for that in some cases, or what you can do is it's just part of your program, and so it's supporting people with better results.
Exactly. And the other thing is sort of like you said, what people are afraid of, the orange theories, and we got a bunch of orange theory here. We got shred. We got a whole bunch of different models like that. The reason why people, I believe, leave your facility or leave your business is, like you said, is like you're not creating that community. You're not doing the things that they're doing very well, not from the training standpoint, but from the ancillary, like that support, the community, the follow-up. So they feel like they're getting supported, not just during your session 3 times a week, but also the additional things that you're able to provide for them. And like you said, I would just build it right into your package, and give it to them as a bonus, even though, in essence they are paying for it, but give it to them as a bonus so they feel like oh, I'm getting this also as part of my program. And then again, it's just one more reason why they're not going to leave you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's an added value, and sometimes when they do leave you, or if they move away, they want to continue that online piece for a fee, right? So they'll pay for that. So
exactly.
Whole Life Challenge is an example of an online fitness challenge that we added, right? At our studio, we just said, hey, we're going to do a 6-week Whole Life Challenge, right? And this company runs 6-week Whole Life Challenges. It's 7 aspects of health, so it's not just fitness, right? But it's movement, it's meditation, it's nutrition, it's sleep, it's hydration, it's a whole life, right? It's all these different elements, right?
Yeah, that's great.
And I think it's like $59 or something, right? And the cool thing is it's worldwide, right? And so they're bringing in people from hundreds and hundreds of clubs and even individuals, right? And so it was a simple way for us to just add this to our clientele and of course get some extra revenue as well. Coach Catalyst, great guys. I love what they do. They basically help support your online support and programming, right? They help with accountability. They help with follow up. They basically help coach your clients, right? And so you can, they have a great saying, right? Like, a client's only in your studio 1 to 2 hours a week. What are they doing the other 165 hours, right? And so we got to be coaching them, encouraging them, and so Coach Catalyst is a great way to do that. So I love mentioning those guys.
And we're actually in communication with them to help us with our communication because again, we see the need for that for our own patients here, as well as our personal training clients as well.
Yeah. All right, last one. I think I mentioned this in the very beginning. There's going to be more competition coming, right? I mean, we have seen an explosion in a lot of different franchise models, F45, Orange Theory, Fit Buddy Boot Camp's growing. Anytime Fitness, when you think about it, it's like in 2005, they were completely unknown, right? By 2018, they had 4,000 clubs worldwide and we're over $1 billion company. It's like, what? And in the last 5 years, Planet Fitness has burst onto the scene, competing with them, and they have over 1,500 clubs. It's crazy. So expect more competition. It's going to continue to come. I think we're going to see more competition in the older adult market, right? Where's it going to come from? We're going to continue to see large health clubs. We're going to start to see, for the first time ever, senior fitness franchises popping up. We're going to see licensed models. We've already created 2 licensed models through Functional Aging Institute. We're going to see medical fitness centers explode. We're seeing the whole medical fitness movement take off.
Exactly.
Physicians realizing, hey, there's not a fitness center I can refer to. Why don't I build one, right?
Correct.
So we're seeing orthopedists build fitness centers. We're seeing physical therapy clinics build fitness centers. Just in the last 2 weeks, I've talked to physical therapists and physicians that want to add fitness to their business, right? It's like, okay, makes sense, right?
Yep, exactly.
I mean, if you're seeing hundreds of people for knee replacement physical therapy, well, guess what? When their insurance runs out, what do, right? Well, I should have a training studio to keep training them, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So hybrid healthcare models, boutique fitness studios, new startups, we're going to see all of this stuff just explode. Nifty After 50 is a long-standing one, been around a long time, right? It's very much a physical therapy and fitness model. Just be careful what you name yourself, right? Nifty After 50, their average age is 75, right? So, well, you're pretty nifty. You're 50, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just turned 50 this year, so I'm pretty nifty.
Yeah. So just got to be careful your naming. So Planet Fitness, I mean, just literally came out of nowhere.
Unbelievable.
In fact, I think
Everywhere.
some of us laughed, right? We're like,
Yeah.
seriously? No,
Yeah.
no judgment, no
Right.
lunkheads, no
Right,
grunting.
right.
We give you donuts on Tuesday. I mean, we laugh at a lot of the stuff they do, but they're
Right.
growing like crazy, right?
Yeah.
They're growing like crazy. So,
$10
so they're
a
doing
month.
something right. $10 a month. Yeah. FitBuddy Forever is a licensed model that we developed for FitBuddy Bootcamp. All right. We got FitBuddy Bootcamp owners who are empty between 10 and 4, right? We're like, wait a minute, your place is just empty? Yeah, nothing going on. I mean, who comes to boot camp at 10 in the morning, right?
Right.
I'm like, okay, well, let's do personal training for older adults, right? Ageless Fitness is another license model we have that anyone can add. We're seeing physicians add that. We're seeing Anytime Fitnesses add it. We're seeing studios open up with it. We're seeing small health clubs add it. So people are realizing there's a huge opportunity here. So just get really good at what you do. I mean, if you train people in their 30s and 40s really well, you could probably train people in their 60s and 70s really well too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Create a category of one, be unique, use better content, share stories, right? People like to hear other people's stories.
Right.
They don't like to hear our stories.
No.
They really don't, right? They're like, oh, Dr. Evan Osar went to chiropractic school and yada. Nobody cares, to be honest, right?
No.
When they hear your 2 or 3 clients say how you changed their life, right?
Exactly.
When Bonnie came up to me and she's like, Janice healed me. Look, I can raise my arm overhead. I was like, what? Tell me more. That's amazing.
Huge. Yeah, exactly. That's huge.
Unbelievable, right? Huge, right? So share more stories. We love Prime Fit content for better content. Jake Croft created this. So shout out for him. Better content, better stories, right? That's really where it's at. So, so I'll just leave you guys with this. Content grows your business, right? If you want to attract this female in the center, then use content focused on that, right? If you want to attract young guys like Men's Health, that's the content, right? I mean, how many times have we seen this crap? 25 pounds in only 2 weeks. At least Facebook bans this stuff.
Well, that's good.
You've got to market in a way that people really find you attractive, right? They're like, yeah, this is somebody that stands out. This is somebody that's going to help me. And so especially when you're looking at this aging market opportunity, there's a lot better ways to do it. So I always say, get hyper-focused on who you want to train, right? Like if you want to train people in their 50s and 60s that have joint issues, then get hyper-focused on that, right? Learn everything you need to learn about hips and knees. Because man, if you can help people with hip and knee pain, you'll be busy the rest of your life. There's no doubt. So, have multiple poles in the water. You got to be doing online and offline lead generation and marketing. Continually be improving. That's why you're on the webinar with us today. Hopefully you learned something. Hopefully I gave you some nugget. Become a recognized expert. If you have no idea what you're doing, get a coach, right? Or sign up for a licensed model. Publish a book. How many books have you published now, Evan?
I self-published a bunch in the beginning, and now I have at least 4 from a major publisher. So
so more than 4. Publishing a book makes a huge difference, right? I mean, it separates you as an expert.
Absolutely.
I mean, people know Evan has written books on various topics, right? I hear people say, oh yeah, you got to get Evan's book on such and such, right? Well, immediately when somebody says you got to get Evan's book on such and such, what do? I go, wow, I didn't even know he wrote a book on that particular topic, right? I'd only know of this one. So it just elevates you, again, into that expert status. So we encourage people to think about getting certified through us, for sure attending the Functional Aging Summit where you're going to hang out with people. When you start to look at the numbers, you're like, oh my goodness, it's already over 100 million people over 55. And then when you look at over 50, it's like 120 million people. And the aging opportunity is not going away, right? It's not a short little fad. It's not a little niche. It's going to be a massive opportunity for a long time.
Absolutely.
People want to learn more about me and what we do, they can check out our website, functionalaginginstitute.com. You can find tickets to the Functional Aging Summit for half price right now. They're just $149,
which is crazy. We'll send up the link for that. And some people actually know that I first met you in person at the first Functional Aging Summit. I was happening to be out there writing my book in Arizona, and I saw writing a book, and you guys were having the summit. I came out, and I really came out, one, because I didn't know you guys at all at that time, and you guys had Deborah Rose there, and I love Deborah Rose's book, Fall Proof.
Fall Proof, yep.
I wanted to see her present, and then you invited me out to dinner. Like you'd heard of me, and one of your trainers had been to one of my conferences, workshops, and you're like, hey, want to come to dinner with us? And right then and there, like that's how our friendship started. So truly meet great people and learn great content specifically geared toward training the older adults. So I highly recommend. I'll give you guys the link to the Functional Aging Summit 2020, which is going to be in, is it Denver, Colorado?
Yep. Denver, June 4th through 6th. June 4th, you're doing a pre-con workshop, and then on the 5th and 6th, you and Janice are doing some sessions. So I think Janice is doing a specific healing session. She's going to be healing people, right?
She put her hands on people and heal them, for sure. Exactly.
Well, cool. Well, I'll stick around if people have questions. I've got 10, 15 minutes.
Awesome. One question that I had, our friend Jackie asked me to ask you is, and Jackie owns a studio down in Houston, Texas, and I know this is a big challenge for a lot of individuals that work with the older population. How do you address it? Because you do have a facility down in Lafayette, and I think you said you have 250 clients. So I imagine you get quite a few referrals from medical professionals.
Yep.
Medical doctors, chiropractors, physical therapists in your area. And that's one of the biggest untapped areas in my eyes for fitness professionals, is they just aren't reaching out. Like I rarely have people reach out to me to ask me for referrals. And again, these individuals, we have training here, but people don't actually know that we have training in our studio here. But again, people are not taking advantage of the health and fitness professionals in their area. Now, one of the challenges that many fitness professionals have is when the medical professional says to them, to the client, hey, this client shouldn't do a specific exercise pattern like deadlifts or squats or something like that. How does your facility find the best way to communicate with healthcare professionals? What do you do when you get a referral? Could you just kind of walk through that process briefly? Just how do you really foster that relationship with the the health professionals in your area?
Yeah, so I would say probably the simplest way we foster, I'm not sure if I have my book handy, but I have some other people's books handy. The simplest way we foster that is we have clients take our book to their doctor. I have to respect the fact that doctors are super busy, right? And they're crunched for time, and they're trying to meet their staff administrators like Dr. So-and-so, you got to stay on schedule. So for me to expect they're going to take 5 minutes to mention Miracles Fitness, my training studio, is ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's not even a good approach. So what we try to do is keep them stocked with copies of our book, right? And so, for example, Joyce is 86 years old. She takes 10 copies of my book every time to her physician, right? I've never met Dr. Mithke, and I don't know if I ever will, but he keeps giving our book away, right? And we get clients that way. And so most of our referrals from physicians come through, they've heard about us. They obviously know about us because we're training one of their patients, and because their patient's having good outcomes, then they continue to refer. And so we try to make it easy for the physician. The other thing we do from time to time is we might run a specific program that physicians can refer to, right? So it might be a 6-week fitness transformation or a specific weight loss program. But what we find for the most part is physicians are strapped for time, right? And so we just have to keep it simple. So the book has been our best strategy.
That's awesome.
The other thing that I tell people is get hyper-focused on your physicians, right?
Yeah.
We make the mistake of saying, oh, I'm going to take a stack of business cards and brochures to 100 physicians' offices.
Right.
It's not effective, right?
No.
You want to go to the 5 physicians who are exercise advocates who have sent you a referral, and you want to empower them and make it easy for them, right? And so I have in Lafayette and West Lafayette, there are hundreds of physicians, but I have probably 3 or 4 who we spend most of our time, effort, and energy on.
Absolutely.
Because those are the ones that continue to refer, continue to send us people. So I just want to make it as easy as possible for them, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not going to spend a lot of time just trying to blanket physicians who aren't interested. So we have to realize physicians are busy doing what they need to do. They're not spending their day going, I want to figure out how to grow this other person's fitness business, so we got to make it really simple for them.
Absolutely. And again, that's exactly what I tell people is like, find the 3 or 4 physicians or physical therapists that love what you do, understand what you do, and really, like you said, nurture and foster those relationships, because you just need a handful of individuals that really love what you do. and you'll have more clients than you'll ever know what to do with.
Right.
And last point, what about the book? You know, because you've talked about a book, and obviously you've written a book, we've written books, and you recommend writing books. What's the easiest way for individuals to start that process?
Well, if they really want to train clients over the age of 50, I recommend they just go through us. We actually can help you publish a book. So we have a book publishing partner that we work with, Niche Pressworks. And so if you become a functional aging specialist certified through FAI, we actually have 3 versions of this book already done for you. So we've published about 50 trainers. Jackie in Houston has published.
Yep.
This is actually Jeff Edwards' book in Boise, Idaho. And so what we've done is really basically ghost written the book for you, made the process simple and fast.
Yep.
As you know, most trainers don't have time to just disappear to Arizona for a couple of weeks to go write a book, and take 6 months and, meet a book deadline. And so 2 years go by and they haven't gotten their book done. Right. And so it doesn't help grow your business. So we can actually get you published in about 60 days or less.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's the book you want to give out to prospective clients in their 60s. Right. So you're going to literally hand them the book. I call it the long sales letter, right? Like I'm going to hand you 50 pages as to why you need to train with us.
Absolutely.
If you train with us, your life's going to be amazing. And if you don't, man, it's going to be miserable, right? It's like, no, I guess I'm going to go train with them, right? So, and the nice thing about books, people don't think of this as marketing, right? They don't think that their physician gave you this book to market me, right? They think the physician gave you this book because you need it. You need to learn it, right? And so people actually read it and they embrace it and they take it all in and they go, man, I got to go check out this Dan Ritchie's facility because this is just compelling, right? And so, so it's a really nice way to get into somebody's sort of psyche and mindset and make them realize, man, I probably do need to do this exercise thing. And well, where are they going to go, right? Are they going to go check out somebody else's studio? Or are they going to go to the author, right?
Correct. You're right. Again, just another way to differentiate yourself in a crowded industry. And the one thing that I did learn at a book writing course was if you want to get started, if you truly want to write your own book, if you have the time and the energy and the enthusiasm to do that, is write down the 10 most commonly asked questions that a doctor or a client may ask you, write down and write answers to them. Then write down the 10 questions that most people should be asking about fitness professionals and personal trainers or exercise or joint replacements or osteoarthritis. Answer those questions. And right there with those 20 questions, you have a book. You literally
have an outline. You have the outline for your chapters. The other thing I would caution people, if you're thinking, oh, I need to write a book, don't write the wrong book. I've seen too many people write the wrong book.
I've done that.
So I've done that. The first rule is the book needs to be short, especially if you want to use it to market your gym, your local business, right? So like Evan, you can write a 200-page book on shoulder exercises for the fitness professional, right? That's who your audience is, right?
Correct.
But the average woman down the street, she doesn't have any interest in reading a 200-page book on shoulder. So that's the mistake fit pros make, right? Is they write the 250-page manual on how to keep your knees healthy for the rest of your life.
Right.
Nobody in your market's ever going to read it, right? They're like, give it to them in 60 pages or less. They'll actually read it. They'll be like, hey, I need to learn more, right? In fact, you want the book to be short enough that they can finish it and go, oh man, this has given me an appetite for more. I want to learn more. I want to come check this place out, right?
Absolutely.
If you give them everything, well, the end of the book, they go, well, that was great. I got everything I need.
Exactly. And I've done that too. And the other thing to do with your 50 or 60 page book is, like you said it earlier, and I'll just rephrase it or reframe it, is tell stories. Tell the stories of your clients that have been successful using your system, your approach. Your book could essentially just be your clients' stories with a little bit of information teased in there, and then how to contact you. So again, very easy way to get your book written. I mean, you could literally do it over a couple week period of time, or even a week period of time, if you just go between Christmas and New Year's and just hammered it out. If you're that ambitious. So a great suggestion. So Dan, I know it's 1 o'clock. Thank you so much for all the great information, and thank you for all you do for the industry. You and Cody started a great organization. Janice and I love partnering with you and being part of everything you guys are involved with. And I know we're going to do a lot more with you in the coming years. And thank you for sharing the information. We'll definitely have you back on at some point. We'll get all the links to all your your certification, to the Tai Chi, open the door to Tai Chi, Diane Bailey's course, Ryan Glatt's brain trainer course as well. So everybody will have those links, and also the link to the Functional Aging Summit 2020.
Great.
I know you're working on the outline for that and all the presenters, and we look forward to having you more, and then partnering with you even further in the future. Thank you so much for all you guys do, and thank you for being on and sharing with our community. And thank you for everyone that's been listening and participating as well.
All right, thanks for having me.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.